Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Now, there's a lot of ways to consume James Bond content. We could read it through a book, we could watch it through movies. Heck, we can even go to events nowadays. But as a content creator, we also know that beyond YouTube and Instagram, we have these wonderful podcasts that have bloomed. Yes, I said the word bloomed across the James Bond community. And today I want to reintroduce two gentlemen who I've known for a very long time who have a podcast that is screaming like banshees through the Bond community. Probably one of the most popular to date, but it makes me laugh. And most importantly, it is cat and dog friendly. You'll find out more about that when we introduce you to Rob and to Pete. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hello, David. Hello.
How are you both doing?
Very well, thank you.
Going great guns. Thanks, David.
Now, I noticed that you're not in the typical studio that you're usually a part of. And I forgive you for that, but I was impressed with the studio when you guys launched it.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's actually the summer house at the end of the garden. And we have a little couple of Bond props all set up there. And we were filming the podcast at some stage for the YouTube, but then lost faith with that. So I just kept it as a podcast.
It's all about the backgrounds. I fully expect we're going to see live cats infiltrate this discussion, and I'm here for it. But Pete, we got to step back for a moment to really introduce this properly, because There Will Be Bond is sort of the second transition of a podcast that you had before. Tell us about the transition and where we are now.
Yeah, so it used to be From Tailors with Love, which I started with Matt Spacer as a podcast, and that was primarily to market the book, From Tailors with Love, that Matt and I co-authored. And it was all about the costumes of Bond, the brands, and we got costume designers on, tailors from the Bond franchise to talk about it. And then we released the book and the podcast continued, and I think it just outstayed its welcome, really. And plus, there's only a certain amount of clothes that you can really talk about in the Bond franchise. So then I thought, well, I wanted to broaden it out. I still wanted to continue podcasting. So I fired Matt Spacer. He took it very well. And started up There Will Be Bond, did this transition to talk more broadly about Bond and all sorts of subjects, and then just focused on one film. We started breaking down Casino Royale minute by minute, and at the start I was getting different guests on for each different minute, and that just got a little bit that got very tough to do. Enjoyable for a while, but it was quite tiresome. And then Rob came on, and I figured out Rob actually works just down the road from me in Chiswick, and he just started turning up to the house like a stray cat, basically. So we started doing the podcasts in person. I'd have like a food bowl out for the dogs, the cat, and then one out for Rob, and he just started turning up. So we turned the microphones on, and Rob, I think that's how it started, right?
More or less, yes.
Something like that.
More or less. Yeah. But it's nice that we do it in person. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think so too. So that's kind of the transition. That's why I changed the name of the channel, just to fit it in and kind of loosen myself away, unhinge myself from the book side of it.
As a listener, I remember very well when you started to do Casino Royale and get multiple people. Now, everybody, I think there were bets against you that you weren't going to keep up with it. And Rob, I'm going to pay you a huge compliment. When you came on board, what I think the listeners, myself included, enjoyed was there was a sense of consistency that you brought, because when you have individuals kind of pop in and out, you're trying to keep it all straight. And Pete's trying to keep it all straight. But when you came on board, you two acted as very good foils, both with each other and against each other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I think because I did one, didn't I? When the first one I did was in the airport, wasn't it, with the bomb maker, and I remember I'd never done a podcast before, and I was really nervous. Really, I even drank a glass of wine before going on. I was so nervous, and afterwards you rang me up and you were like, "Oh, that was really good. You do you want to do another one?" And I was like, "Well, okay, if you want." And then so I did another one, and then was like, well, do you want to come on every week? I was like, okay. And then it just sort of went from there, didn't it, Pete? It's been great.
I've lost all memory of that, but sounds about right.
Well, Pete, I remember early on you confessing to me that you felt much more comfortable being the interviewer than the interviewee. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to objectify you, Rob, but I think what Rob brought to the table for you was somebody to work off of, to be that interviewee that you could connect with.
Yeah. So Rob, as people will know if they've listened to the show, has got a very good energy about him, and he can talk at pace. And a lot of the times I can just put my feet up, which is quite nice. I can just let him do all the heavy lifting. And I think I've come to realize that it's mainly my job to rein Rob in, and to kind of create a bit of discipline. So when he wants to go off and talk about, I don't know, National Hedgehog Day, I've got to go, Rob, we've got to stay on track here at some stage.
Or the weather.
Yeah, the weather. So Rob loves weather, all kinds of weather. So I have to, something you're familiar with at the minute, right, David? I don't know when this goes out, but you're
we've got about 13 and a half inches of snow that fell.
Right.
We're dealing with in like negative, but I have to ask you a question, because as a fan and a listener, and that's why I think I'm sort of licensed to ask you these questions. Is that banter real? Because I always wonder, like, you really do take the mickey out of each other, and Rob's maybe talking about Herbie the Love Bug or, something like that. And you do kind of like stop him in his tracks. Is that just natural?
Yeah, I've got to. Okay. I've got to, because I also have to edit the show afterwards, right? So that I have to have two bites of the cherry. I've got to record it. I've got to listen to him once, and then I've got to listen to him back, when I edit it. So I can't just let him. I know when I'm talking to him and we're recording, I know that I've got to do another take of this. So I have to stop him cut him off at the pass. Otherwise, I just know it's just going to go on, and I'll just cut half of him out anyway in the end. Which I get a lot of stick from his friends for, by the way. His friends always just say,
yes. They say, stop cutting me off. It was like it's getting really interesting. He just cuts you off all the time.
But I think that's part of what we like about it, is that sometimes you grind against each other. Like, it's not this perfect couple that's trying to look better than they are. It's and I will say this, Rob, and everybody says this when they start following your collective podcast, is that you are better than Chat GPT. You are and I say this with great seriousness, such a fountain of information. You are sort of being the Bond fan, the Bond super fan in the group that, we are. And then Pete kind of harnesses that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I've obviously got a lot of information in my head. It's from years of reading and etc. And obviously I feel that's important. And in a way, it reminds me a little bit of JBR, in as much as Chris was literally just encyclopedic knowledge compared with Tom, who also knew a lot, but not on the same level as Chris. And I think that it might be the same here. Although, having said that, Pete obviously knows a lot more about the sartorial side than I do. I know nothing about that. So I'm learning that. And also, Pete knows a lot more about the more recent films than I do.
But I will say there's a bone to pick in there somewhere, just from that statement, because I've heard a couple recent podcasts where Pete starts to go down a sartorial path and then pumps the brakes really hard and says, we're starting to talk about, tailors and things like that. I'm pulling out. So
because I can see him drift off, I can see his eyes just kind of wander around the room. He'll start going on his phone, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I've got to leave off. But it's interesting you said, JBR was, I remember listening to James Bond radio when I was in the factory. That's pretty much where I started with podcasts in general. And so everything has kind of been modeled, or, I always like still listening to old episodes of James Bond radio. In fact, David, that's probably where I first heard of you, because you would leave voice notes on James Bond radio. And then I remember you invited Chris and Tom on to your show, and I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to go listen to these guys to see what they're like outside of the James Bond radio world. So I went over. I'm just
that's
recording
funny.
that now, right?
Yeah, it's there's so many connective tissues
Yeah, that's the
between
old
all
guard,
of
yeah.
us. But I do have a question, a couple of that I've sort of built up, and it sort of breaks apart, but it also finds out a lot about the podcast for my audience, because my audience right now, first of all, 10 minutes in, obviously, I'm a fan of this podcast. And one of the reasons I'm a fan is there's an incredible amount of consistency. And the way you two talk and think is how most of us in a pub hope we would have that conversation with another Bond fan. So it's almost like we're the third person in the room, which you make that very joyful. But I have noticed that the Bond podcasts, the fan podcasts, are on a downtick. Not yours, though. Yours is the only one that's accumulating more audience members. Whereas I see a lot of them that have been around for many years, they seem to be, dare I say, in retirement. I want to get your opinion on this. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that some survive and thrive and one have sort of just trickled away?
Interesting. Rob, shall I take it?
Yeah, you go for that.
Well, so I'd listened to pretty much every other podcast there is out there, and I wonder, because there's a bit of a drought in the news as well. Amazon bought over the franchise, and all of a sudden there was another uptick, and everyone else is reigniting their podcasts again. Like the Bond buzz comes on and says, right, we'll just definitely do James Bond news because there'll be a slew of it. So John Orty comes and creates a new podcast, which is great, by the way. But I feel
and then
like
tumbleweed.
and then tumbleweed. Yeah, he stopped doing it. But I feel like the Being James Bond and Friends podcast only do things when there's something happening, or maybe like an anniversary one. I feel like they've gone a little bit quiet. I wonder if it's just you've got to really like doing podcasts and creating content, and it takes time, and you've got to have a love for doing that above everything else. So I mean, David, for you, I'm guessing for you, actually, it's probably not even YouTube. It's the events, right? All the time that you put into doing the events and then going to have those. That's kind of like your number one satiation, right?
To be honest with you, it is this. I mean, if I was to choose like a Sophie's choice between events, Instagram, hosting, all these different things, even brand work that I do behind the scene, the number one thing, which sounds really hermity, is to go in my basement, click on the lighting, click on the camera, and start filming and create a video that debuts in a week. I love that. It makes me feel like I'm running a TV department somewhere. So it's that fantasy behind it. But besides you guys and A Good Squeeze, which is a new group that have come on to the fair, I'm seeing you're naming all the podcasts that I used to listen to, even like Joe Darlington. You just don't hear them anymore. And that's why, I mean, you guys have your consistency around your story, but I was wondering if there was anything else there that, like, this fortitude of why you guys are keeping it up.
Well, I am after a Golden Bullet Award.
Ah,
but I do feel like that doesn't really. You don't have to be consistent for that, right? Because I should really take Joe's trick, because he just came on the scene, like he reignited it.
Did one
episode and then got nominated. I was like, it's all about timing, Joe. I said, you just got to make a late run for it and you'll get in there.
That's so true. And Rob, this is for you. A little bit more than Pete, because I would still say you're not a newcomer on the scene, because you've gone on events and you've been at locations, you've been a name and a face that many of us have seen, but you have received a lot of positive, and I will say positive, notoriety in doing this show. Has there been any change of you noticing this? Are you hearing from more people? What's been your experience?
Maybe a little bit. I suppose, yes, a little bit. Yes. No, yes, because when I went to the London event, the Cue the Music event, for example. So I mean, this is when all the Bond fans come together for something like that. When I last saw you in London, and there were people coming up to me who I'd never met before in my life, who recognized me, saying how much they enjoyed the podcast and how much they wanted to meet me and have a chat and all the rest of it. And I was like, wow, that's nice. So yes, there has been, and it's been really lovely, actually, really lovely. There was a gentleman from New Jersey, actually, I remember, who came up to me, who was a big fan of the pod. And he was like, "Where's Pete?" I said, "Oh, he's on holiday." He was like, "Oh, I was hoping to meet Pete. I was like, "Well, maybe I'll be here another time, you know." He said, "Oh, it's so good to meet you. It's so good." He had this wonderful New York accent. He was great. Yeah, no, it's been wonderful, and I've been really enjoying it, actually. I really have, and for me, it's nice to be able to give back to the Bond community as well, because I've got a lot of pleasure from listening to you and from JBR and from Music of Bond and all sorts of other Joe Darlington. So it's nice to be able to give back as well, and give other people some enjoyment. I mean, I listen to lots of podcasts, I still do. It's a nice thing to give back to people, and also the way I approach it is that I see it just as you said earlier, David. It's two mates having a chat as if you're down the pub, because I think that was the secret to JBR's success, and that was the first podcast that I ever listened to. There's a motoring podcast I love very much called Smith and Sniff, and it's the same sort of thing. It's two motoring journalists in the UK, and they just chat.
All right, Rob.
And a lot of time they chat nonsense.
Rob promotes that podcast on every other episode of ours. I'm like, we don't need.
It sounds like a vaginal cream. Itch and
It
Smith and Sniff.
sounds like something you got sent by accident.
No, you can't use that. That's for, well, maybe you can. But one of the things that you said in there that was relevant, I think, also for me is it's not even the numbers. It's not whether 200 people are listening or watching you or 200,000. It's the satisfaction of creating content that brings people pleasure, and when people laugh at what you do or, cajole. And by the way, I do have a question around that. Either one of you can take this. A few of my audience members, who am I fooling? It's me. I want to know, do you guys ever get into disagreements before you go on air? Do you ever no, we can't go in this direction. We can't say that. We can do that. I mean, are there disagreements between these two lovebirds?
Rob,
go for it, Pete.
Well, I think it might just be who brings the wine to the podcast, to the recording. I mean, this actually happened last week. I did actually have to cut out 5 minutes of the beginning because we just talked. All right, okay, I'll go into it here real quick. Yeah. Rob texts me last week and says, "Pete, just to let you know, I'm going to be a little bit late. At work, we have Prosecco and pizza night. Prosecco and pizza night. It's once a month." I said, "Okay, Rob, so you're going to have Prosecco?" He goes, "Yeah, brilliant." Gets to mine. We hit the microphones. I say, "You don't want any wine, Rob, do you? Because you have Prosecco." He goes, No, I didn't drink Prosecco there because I knew I'd be having your wine. I said, okay. Well, that
started well, didn't it?
So yeah, I absolutely killed Rob for about 5 minutes. I said, you're turning free wine down at work and you're coming to mine and drinking my free wine instead of their free wine. I should be charging you. And then he goes, "Well, I'll get a $5 out of my pocket then. I'll get $5." I was like, "No, it's nothing. It's the principle." Anyway, so you kind of get the idea. It's more
that's just banter, isn't it? And I don't think we disagree about what we're going to talk about, really, do we? We have an agenda. Obviously, we do the minutes. That's the structure, and then anything else that we want to talk about, we discuss in the days prior to recording. And then we just go for it. We have a bit back and forth before about what we think might be interesting, and we just take it from there, really, don't we? I don't think we have any disagreements about.
No. Is there anything that's listen, everybody's friends doing this. Is there anything that's sort of off the table that, hey guys, don't talk about politics, religion, my aunt's warts, whatever it is.
So we try and keep politics out of it because there's just politics everywhere else, and we like to keep it political free. But of late, I do preface something. I'll go, "Look, we don't like to talk about politics, Rob, but we end up, talking about how much anyway." So we won't. Yeah, there's a little bit that's creeping in, but we try and keep all of that out. But generally, there's not a lot that's off the table, and we always try and funnel it back to Bond in some way. Otherwise, people will just probably turn off in their droves.
Yeah, and away from Heat.
Oh, Heat, only the best film in the world.
Gosh.
So,
I will say, to defend Rob, as much as he does talk about weather and he talks about the poor cat that swallows stones, I will say you bring up Heat twice that.
But I feel that's justified because everybody should have seen Heat, whereas no one's. So Rob will say, like, Genevieve is the best film of all time, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Rob, no one's seen Genevieve or Guinevere or whatever that film is you keep talking about, Rob. I go, that's
Genevieve,
insane.
yes.
Genevieve, okay.
Yeah,
I go, no one's seen that and no one cares about it. But you would say that, but you would not have seen, like, Under Siege or Cliffhanger, you know, all the staples of every moviegoer's diet. They're just somehow off Rob's list, which is charming in a way, but that's kind of the
it's very interesting because
we're
almost like polar opposites in our taste in
Which,
film, aren't we?
Yeah.
We as listeners, like, that's the parts we're waiting for. Like, you guys couldn't know this, but I will tell you again, huge compliment coming. Kyle Barbu would seriously text me as he's listening to your podcast and go, did you guys hear there's like a whole weather and gardening report 7 minutes in? Like, you guys don't realize, like, that is our candy. You know, going to the movie, like, yeah, we know. He wears a kilt. Yeah, we know.
Can I have this in writing, please, David?
But it's true. You can ask anybody. It's like, okay, now they're going at it. You know, they're telling their cats to go away. The dog is making a loud noise. Someone's talking about when you guys talk about your GI issues, the gastro stuff, I mean, everybody dials in. I don't think you guys realize what's attracting people to your channel.
Well, a part of me is trying to make the show a little bit evergreen, where you can go into the show. Maybe, I mean, we actually have people just say, "Oh, I'm listening back to the Casino Royale minutes, and I'm on minute 37, and Rob's talking about the weather." I'm like, that's really good, but you now have to suffer 10 minutes of weather talk from the year 2024. It's not going to be any good to anyone. It's not good at the time because we record it a few days in advance, so the weather's irrelevant.
It's the hammer falling. It's the weather talk followed by Pete going, "You need to stop, Rob. You're killing us. You've just lost 50%." When actually you gained 50%. But anyway, I should have never even said that because Rob's now going to be so dangerous.
It's all right, Pete. I'll do what I'm told.
David, I got a question for you actually while I've got you.
Yeah.
I heard on one of your latest podcasts that you're going to be doing more podcasts because you're kind of as and when an idea hits, you'll just do it into your phone. I believe you're just talking to your phone or when you're on the drive. So it's great because it's just literally like 10-15 minutes of like a stream of consciousness and then that's it. Boom, it's up. But you got any more plans to do on a regular, maybe get guests on?
So I am actually doing Hey Anastasia.
There's the wife.
Sorry, that was catching her in her best form. I was trying to say something very James Bond. It came out like Austin Powers. Yes, so I am doing a weekly podcast. I already have 7 done. So I'm going to release 1 a week. They're going to be also about 15-20 minutes like they usually are. They're still streams of consciousness, little bit more predetermined. They're very different than my YouTube or Instagram. A big part of that is you guys probably, certainly by the time this releases, will know that, but I've made a pretty significant change in my life from a vocational standpoint. So I resigned from a very successful position at a very successful company, much to their confusion and chagrin, and decided to chase happiness and decided to engage with the many, over 48 different brands that I've engaged with for about 25 years, and to start a company that would focus a little bit more on the world of Bond and brands and events. And that's what I'm doing.
Congrats. I think that's wonderful, David. I really do.
I was actually thinking about that very thing today. I was like, at some point you're going to have some, because your branding is your thing, and our brand is kind of a little bit here or there and everywhere. The YouTube does book reviews, the podcast does minutes, and I've never felt like there's one particular focus for There Will Be Bond, but the Bond experience has you at the helm and doing all these things. And so I was thinking, you got to at some stage just take that branding muscle that you have and just make it your own and go for broke. And you're doing it. Nice.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. I've been doing it for about 3 weeks now, and I'll tell you what, I every morning, every evening, I wake up and go to sleep joyful, and it's a very unique feeling. And not to unload here, but in my roles, certainly in my senior roles in corporate America, I don't get good emails. They're all the sky's falling, or this person, or we're getting sued, and they're all horrific. And then you got to spend the entire day trying to cure the issue. Here, I'm building something and speaking with the brands. Like right now, I'm already engaged with 7 brands in a short amount of time. And it's such a pleasure. Plus, I'll be traveling much more. We're going to Australia, Italy, Jamaica, Europe, different parts of Europe. And it's all around this. I mean, it's all centered around the things that I love. So it's a bit of a fantasy that I'm living in, and actually re-engaging with you guys, sort of the underneath the veneer, is I'm really trying to galvanize content creators again to use my channel as an amplifier. And that's why I really want people to get to know you guys on here and what you do. Very long way of saying, yes, I'm going to have a weekly podcast. God damn it.
Great. Well, if you need a weatherman for somewhere in Fetcham, close over to West London,
I did actually want to get your opinion on 2 things real quick. Even as you're doing your podcast, do you guys speculation versus frustration? And Rob, you probably have a good answer already baked in here. When you think about what Bond is becoming, or what it should be, or what it will turn into with the new movie, we start to speculate. It's very human. Here's the new actor coming on. How much do you think is speculation that gets you excited, or do you just get frustrated? Are you just frustrated that there isn't a new movie, that there isn't news? Or are you frustrated even with Bond fan speculation? How do you feel?
I'm obviously frustrated at the lack of news and the lack of a new film in the last 5 years. I remember when we had one every other year. But at the same time, having said that, I am excited because I think that the team that they've put together is a very good one. And looking at their record and what they've all achieved, I think we could be in for something really quite special. I do hope so. I mean, we'll wait and see. Who knows? But so I'm excited. I'm not jumping around going crazy. We'll see what happens. And until the film opens and I come out, I'll reserve judgment. But at the moment, yeah, I'm quietly excited, I'd say.
That's a good way to be. Pete, how do you feel?
I guess I'm never really excited or frustrated. I'm more bemused at how quickly it seems to flip-flop. Like last week, it was Callum Turner that's nailed on for the role. This week, it's Jacob Elordi, or however it might be next week or whenever this comes out. And then you go into the articles, like The World of Real will talk about how Callum Turner's been running around town telling everybody that he's going to be. I'm like, look, he's a professional actor. He knows what NDAs are. If he is the next Bond, he's not running around town with a megahorn. And then you'll go even further in the article and they'll go, and apparently it's all based on the books that Bond was in the Navy. It's right back to Fleming. I'm like, well, Fleming never wrote about. Anyway, so they kind of, the more you go into it, the more you realize that it just doesn't add up. But in terms of like speculation, I was thinking about this today because I watched Skyfall very recently. And I was like, the ending of Skyfall, like Rob and I talked about this on the Patreon show, that just the very last minute almost of him just saying, oh, we haven't been introduced. And it's like Eve Moneypenny. I'm like, oh, wow. Just at that moment, you feel like you've just dunked into a warm bath. They're like, that's nice. And then he goes into the office and there's the studded door. I was like, oh, God, that feels like someone's just handed you a martini while you're in the bath.
Yeah.
And then the folder drops on the desk. Anyway, so it's just like a crescendo of all this beautiful stuff that you associate with Bond. And I feel like that, you walk out of the cinema just feeling so good. Yeah. That's what I want from the next Bond, just to have that really nice warm bath with maybe a happy ending.
Great analogy.
I had tears in my eyes at that scene the first time I saw it at the BFI IMAX. Absolutely. I was welling up in that office, the Ken Adam designed office, and get back to work 007 with pleasure, M, and then the gun barrel, which should have been at the beginning, but it was like, oh my God, this is just wonderful. And I got really emotional. And my friend next to me was like, what's the matter with you? What are you crying for?
No, but
you can't explain it,
You're crying out of like satisfaction, relief in some ways, and happiness. And I'll tell you, the reason I even asked that question, which is a brand spanking new question for me to ask, is yesterday we had a snow day here. We were snowed in, could not get out. And Danielle and I, my wife and I, we watched The World Is Not Enough with like it was the first time. We were so excited to see it, so happy to watch it. And we were cheering. We were laughing. We were yelling at the screen, like everything you want to do in celebrating a Bond film. And as soon as it ended, this sense of frustration hit us that shocked me. And it was a sense of frustration of, why can't we always have a Bond film that makes you feel like someone gave you a martini in a warm bath? Like they know the formula. They know the reaction of the Bond fan, no matter what their age is. So why can't we just roll this out like we're baking a loaf of bread? The ingredients are all right there.
Yeah.
Well, I really hope they will do. And I'm sure they will do. I think we're going to go back to standalone adventures like that. They've done the whole story arc thing. So fingers crossed, that's what we'll get.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, go ahead.
No, that was it. No, I'm done.
I'll say something and then I'll retreat. This is a bit of a controversial question. I don't mean it to be. It's rather innocent. It could be even seen as rather adorable and comfortable if you make it. And please don't make it political if possible. But when I was prepping for this, I was thinking to myself, we've been friends for a long time, and I'm looking mostly at Pete, but Rob, I think we have a growing relationship. But is there a difference between James Bond fans from the US versus the UK? This has long been talked about. The ones that are based here, they were born and bred with James Bond as part of their milk and honey. Whereas the US, we're kind of just borrowing. But what do you all feel about this?
Rob, why don't you take a stab at that?
Well, I can only talk about how it is to be a British Bond fan because I don't know how it is to be an American Bond fan. I'm very pleased that there are a few American Bond fans out there. I think for the Brits, it's different in as much as it's been part of our DNA for so long now. These films have been going for generations. Our parents saw them. Some people, our grandparents saw them. So it's all been filtered through. And it was always on television. Every bank holiday, every Christmas, it would be there. We only had 3-4 channels, It would be there. It would be on television. So you couldn't help but be exposed to it and hopefully enjoy it. And I think as a result of that, that's why the British see it as part of their DNA and why they love it so much. And actually, to quote Matthew Field, I went to a talk last week about the vehicles of Bond with Matthew Field and AJ Chowdhury. And Matthew Field did actually say, we have Bond. The Americans have Marvel, they have all the Hollywood franchises, but we have Bond, and that's a wonderful thing. And the room erupted into rapturous applause.
And then did all the Americans get up and walk out, Rob?
Yeah.
All right, Pete, but you're joking.
But I think it's
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
And by the way, Rob, this is working perfectly because you're right. There is no spoken, hey, you can't play our reindeer games from the British to the US, but there is that where the room erupts into, applause saying, hey, Americans, go play with your American heroes. We have ours. And I do ask that because there have been only a handful, I can count them on one hand happily, in my time as a Bond fan, have someone from the UK said, I don't get it. Why does an American like James Bond so much? And I'm like, probably because of the same reasons you like James Bond so much. There is no different aspect to it. But even that, being, hey, I could see AJ saying that, they have Marvel, they have this, they have DC, and we have James Bond, and but that in and of itself is a little bit of a Pete, what do you think?
So the one thing that I tend to notice, because Anastasia and I, we go back to America quite a bit now. I find that American Bond fans are more in the mood to meet up, and that distance isn't so much of an issue.
Yeah.
Whereas Rob and I are more or less London-based, and you can't even get anyone out unless you're in town, David, to come around and like do an event. I mean, it's I'm not doing all the events. I mean, there's Shaken Not Stirred, and there's a few other groups that do it. So that's not entirely true, but I do find that people are more up for meeting up in America, and they'll meet up with strangers as well. Like I was in Texas once, and I just put the feelers out. I said, "Do I know any Bond fans around here?" And one guy goes, "Oh yeah, I follow you. Let's go out and have a coffee." I was like, "Wow, that's weird, but fine."
We do seek people out to break down the barrier of being separated, to find our tribe, so to speak. When I've been in the UK, I haven't noticed people staying away because did you guys see that? Like,
no,
it went blank for a
out there
second.
for a second. That's all. I got you back
Okay.
now.
You think
you're
I'm going to
breaking
edit
up
that
then.
out?
I didn't hear that.
I know you're not going to edit out.
Well, it's funnier that way if I don't. But the one thing I've noticed in the UK is with that, when you do sort of ring the dinner bell for everybody to get together, it's seismic. Like I think we thought we were going to have about 125, 150 people at the last gather all at this cute little pub. And we wound up having 375 people crowd the sidewalk and inside. And I mean, Rob can attest.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they just blow themselves out once a year for your events, David. It's like they take a year off.
The British folks, and Rob, please tell me otherwise, and I'm happy to accept it because I'm not British. But I do notice that they don't like to be touched as much as the Americans. Like, and Rob, I'm not saying you pulled away when I was like holding my arm around you. We do have that picture together, but I'm not saying you also like leaned in for the real cuddle. Does that make sense?
Well, I suppose British people are more reserved, aren't they?
No, you tell me.
I think they are, aren't they? Generally, I think yes. I think that's actually a thing, isn't it? I think the Brits are quite well known for being reserved, and
Sure.
They're not necessarily huggers, all of them.
Yeah, they don't hug that much.
Whereas other nationalities,
Rob's not a hugger though. Like when Rob comes around, the initial hug and like how we're doing, but I know it's a distant one. It's the A-frame hug.
Is there like a bro hug?
It's barely the shoulders touching, and it's kind of awkward. But we've started doing it now, so I feel like if I stop doing the hug when he comes around, it'll set a bad tone for the podcast.
It'll be like, oh, what's the matter? What's happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do make sure that with British people, like if I go in for a bro hug, which I find very natural, there's no touching of like the dirty parts. There's no pee-pee touches. Like I'm kind of like doing almost like a hunched over, which is fine.
Yeah. So you just do the air kisses or once, twice, 3 times.
No, I don't do air kisses with
right.
Just checking. The French, maybe.
Try that with Rob. See how we get next time.
Well, in Russia with Anastasia, is it 3? Is it one?
Yeah. So that's the thing. It gets confusing because it's free, but then if you're really good friends with like her friends, they don't bother doing it because they know it's a bit of a boo boo ba.
Yeah.
So you kind of get caught in between the second and the third, and then hit them in the lips sometimes. And you're like, oh god, I don't like it. I think people should message ahead and go like, we're about to meet up for lunch. How is this going to go down? Is it going to be a handshake? Is it going to be a fist pump? Because you don't want to have that awkward exchange at the start.
What about Joe Darlington's 3rd book? He has that as a skill set, knowing from what culture and country you're from. He teaches you how many kisses and where they go.
Oh, and you have the villain from The Spy Who Loved Me on the front cover.
Oh, yes.
With the webbed hand.
Yes.
Whose names escape me always.
Stromberg.
Mr.
Stromberg.
Rob, don't you think that would be a skill that would come in handy for the next gather all? Like, is it one kiss? Like, where are the kisses?
David, am I right in thinking Danielle came up with the name Gatherall?
She did.
It's genius.
No,
she ever get credit for it.
I have given her credit for it. Not every time and not patent pending, like after every name. But I will say most of the operations and the cool marketing things that you see are me sitting around with her, and she'll like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Yes. She's not too keen on being like doing this anymore. So she
Right.
hasn't
Okay.
done these in a long time, but she's actually going to quite a few of the events. And she loves going to the locations and, Jamaica and all that, which by the way, we're getting Rob to Jamaica. We're getting Rob to
Yes.
GoldenEye.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to that, David. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
It's going to be
going to be
amazing.
wonderful. I know. Well, I mean, I've never been to Jamaica, so the whole 2-week trip I'm doing on Martin Mulder's tour is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. But
Absolutely
to
phenomenal.
end at the Fleming Villa, to be able to
I
sit
know.
in that seat, and I have quite a few surprises for everybody that I will tell you something, Robin. You are an appropriately emotional guy, like me. I have had grown men cry at the Fleming Villa just because it's such a major thing. It's like
I'm sure tears will be shed. I'll just say that.
Well, and the fact that you're sharing your room with 4 guys, tears may be shed very often.
Yeah. When they found that out, they all started crying as well.
Yeah.
Are they king-size beds?
Yes. Well, you see, those villas, they don't do twins. We looked into this.
Yeah.
And so if you want to bring the price down and share with mates, you have to share a bed. But it is a king-size bed. So, yeah.
So there's 4 of you in the king-size. Have you
There's
arranged,
4 of us. There are 2 beds for
Right.
4 people.
Is it 2
Are you going to go head to head? Sorry. Yeah. I'm very interested.
I don't know what we're going to do. I don't.
Head to toe.
We'll see
Head
when
to
we
toe.
get there.
It's got to be head to toe.
No, but head to toe sounds like something else could go on.
Top and tail. Top and tail, they call it. We'll see.
Know.
They may have a bolster we can put down as like a barrier.
They'll have an iguana that you can. You know what? Honestly,
I just hope Mark doesn't snore. That's all I
can I be frank with you? So, and I mean this from the heart. You guys are going to be so wonderfully busy and out doing things. You guys are going to come back exhausted, fall asleep. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to snorkeling where Fleming snorkeled and all of that sort of thing, and just chilling out, and relaxing and taking in the scenery.
Bob, the food is sublime.
Is it? Yeah. Amazing. I can quite believe it. I can't tell you how excited I am. We all are. It's going to be once in a lifetime trip for us, really, and I'm so looking forward to it. So thank you for putting it on, David.
My gosh,
thank you
of course,
so much.
my pleasure.
Because it's wonderful to have this opportunity for Bonfires to get together at that venue of all the places in the world to meet. It couldn't be better, really, could it?
No, it's my pleasure. We're going to have an amazing time. And speaking of world traveling, big things and vision, here's how I want to end this video with you guys. There is probably, and if there isn't, make one up. I'll give you a little time. A vision in a perfect world where you want There Will Be Bond to go. It could be simply getting more audience members. It could be becoming a brand to be reckoned with, which it's soon becoming, or you could be very satisfied with where you are. But what is the vision? What do you imagine?
Well, I don't know why this has just come to mind, but we could always do a live podcast from Duke's Hotel. But we have like a big announcement at the beginning. The management company come and apologize before we start the show. And they just like issue like one big, and then I'll just say it's okay, you don't need to, but thanks. And then we continue the show. That's
That's the dream, isn't it, Pete? Is that the dream?
Look, I'm just spitballing here, Rob. Who knows? Oh God. I'm quite happy where it is.
You know what we could do? We could actually have Rob, since he will be at GoldenEye, if Chris Blackwell is there, but they also have a GoldenEye historian. We could just ask, has Fleming ever been to Duke's?
Yeah, there we go. We got to ask. Someone's going to come.
Yeah, I mean, you've done some research already, Pete.
I've dedicated my life to
You,
this, Rob.
you, and,
This is my
and
legacy.
you just keep drawing a blank.
That's how I've got tennis elbows, because I keep reaching for the button.
And it's like, well, the chances are he probably did go, but there is no evidence anywhere
There's no
that
proof.
he did.
There's
None
no proof.
whatsoever. And then
But
if you
this
go
is
in
the-
there and they overcharge you for something that you didn't even order, and then you're like, well, hang on a minute. And then
But he
it's
did
like,
go to the
did he even
Dorchester.
go there?
We all
Yes.
know that he went to the Dorchester. It's written in every book. He went to the Savoy. There's even a Vesper bar in the Dorchester now, but no one talks about going to the Dorchester for drinks. It's always meeting up in Dukes for these imaginary Tiger Tanaka cocktails. Anyway, you've heard it all before.
I was at Cue the Music last night, and I met up with a couple of friends from London there, and they were going on about Dukes. I was like, hang on a minute, guys. So I did chip in.
Not you
for
too,
Pete.
Rob. You're a Duke dissenter as well.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I've been there once. I don't think I'm going to go back. Really, it was no.
You know what I enjoy is my Wild and Hard razor. Look at this thing.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Look at
that.
David.
Wild
and Hard.
20% off with the discount.
I never go
code.
anywhere without my Wild and Hard.
Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
Guys,
Amazing
Pleased to see it.
razors.
I am so excited to have had you on the show. You must come back and we must get together. We have to get Pete to one of the Cue the Musics. We know Rob's going to be there, definitely demonstrating his prowess. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of today's discussion.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us
Thank
on.
you,
Always
David.
great.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
We'll take care. And of course, this has also been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Check out the links below for There Will Be Bond. Follow them closely. You will enjoy it. Take care. Thanks for watching the Bond Experience. If you like what you saw, why don't you subscribe to the channel by clicking this button right here. We'll keep you up on everything new that's happening in the world of Bond. And speaking of something new, here's something new just for you because we know you so well. Talk to you soon.